What's going on, guys? Veli here, bringing you a 4-2-3-1 formation guide. As you have seen, you've seen my custom tactics over the last, I think, 330 notes after different patches, what I've been using, and so on. But obviously, my custom tactics might not work for you because of your team, because of your playstyle, or so on. So I wanted to make a a formation guide to every formation, what in my opinion are the top tier formations in the game. So this will entail the 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2, the narrow, and so on. These videos will be out maybe once a week, depending on what, or two a week, all depending on what I've got coming up, coming out on the video, on the YouTube. I was about to say coming out on the video, that just doesn't make sense, does it at all? But we'll start off with the 4-2-3-1. I think this is the most popular this year with all the pros. It seems to be the best in the sense of, obviously this is not how I start the team. I obviously start in a 4-3-3 and change it in game. But don't worry about the team. Obviously you're going to see my team and think, fuck me, this guy's paid to win, here we go. Am I really going to listen to him? But don't worry about the team, that's not what we're here for. We're here to learn the details of the 4-2-3-1 and what makes this formation so good and what can we do to make it suit your playstyle. So we'll start off with the custom tactics. Are these called custom tactics? I guess they are called custom tactics. Once again, we'll start with we're just going to stay on balance, and I've got another spin-off to the 4-2-3-1, which I'll show you to use if you're trying to hold a game out. It is still the 4-2-3-1, but it's the second variation, but we'll get onto that later. Well, we'll start on with the defense style, okay? You can literally use any style with the 4-2-3-1, I promise you this. Because how the team is set out, you've got 4 at the back, and you commonly use stay back on the right back and left back. So you've always got a back line of 4. And then you've got 2 CDMs sitting in front of them who are literally roaming that midfield space. And then you've got 3 cams, obviously, doing what they do. They can press. But we'll go on to that. I think we'll start off with drop back. I think it's quite a popular one this year with a lot of players. Not so much in the pro scene. Pro scene obviously like to do a bit of pressing and mainly go with balance. But drop back is a popular option. I see why. You get a lot of people behind the ball, and especially this year where you don't really need to try and physically defend yourself. It's very AI based. Drop back is a huge tactic to use. You get plenty of players to block the shots, to stop the passing, stop the time finesses and whatnot. So I do recommend, if you're not one of the guys who like to press early, use drop back. Don't matter what people say. If somebody sends you a hate measure because you use drop back, it is what it is. It's what suits you best. We'll go on to balance. This is what I use personally on most of my formations. This is because I feel like I get the best of everything. I can press easy. I can sort of sit back and figure out what the guy's doing and cut out his passing lanes and whatnot. So yeah, for me, balance gives me the best of everything. Pressure on heavy touch is another one of my favourites. I like this because my team's very structured. As soon as somebody does a bad touch, they're there ready to pounce, to stop them playing out. It's very good if you want to try and trap people in certain areas. So if they're passing it around the back, you get your players to all sort of push up on one of their touches, and you can easily trap them and get the ball easy unless they do a lob pass over the top. Press after possession loss is also another good one. I personally prefer heavy touch to possession loss, mainly because I feel my team is always structured with possession loss. Your team go crazy, like it says, for 7 seconds. That's what it seems like. But on heavy touch, you've obviously always there, ready to prepare to basically tackle them and whatnot. Constant pressure. By the time this video is out, constant pressure's basically died. They've finally fixed it that it does. Your stamina gets killed by it. So only use this if you're trying to chase a game in the last 20 minutes or whatnot. I don't really recommend obviously using it over the others because you're not very structured and whatnot. But yeah, that is constant pressure for you basically. That's how it should be used. It should be used to try and pull back results and whatnot. Don't recommend using it from the start. So defense width. With the 4-2-3-1, you don't really need to do it too narrow or too wide. 5 is perfect. As I've mentioned, you've got like basically every position covered with a 4-2-3-1. It's crazy. Like you've got people in the back four who basically mark every single guy. So if you're playing like a 4-4-2 or another 4-2-3-1, you've got your right back obviously covering the right side and the left side players, and then you got your strikers covering, your defenders, your centre backs even. Bloody hell, I can't even speak. Your centre backs covering the strikers, and then the CDMs covering the cams, the centre mids, depending on their formation. So for me, I just use 5, bit of balance over it all. With depth right now, for me, it varies. I'll just put that to balance just in case someone tries to think that we're trying to go with this tactics. We're not trying to go with these tactics. This is just how it is. You can change. I wouldn't really say going over 5 is good unless you're losing. If you're losing, obviously you want to ramp it up to like 6, 7. But if you're just trying to have a balanced team, that's what the 4-2-3-1 is. A very balanced formation. You get best of everything, defending and attacking. So around like 5 to 3, I would say is the sweet spots for this. I wouldn't go any too low, because if you play somebody who does do the time finishing, you're gonna get screwed a lot of times by them just hitting time finesses. Offense style, for me, there's maybe 2, 3 options to use. We'll start off with balance. Balance is obviously, like I've mentioned in defending, it's the best of everything. You get a bit of fast build-up, you get a bit of possession, you get a bit of long ball. Literally, you get a bit of everything. That's why I like balance so much, because it is what it says on the thing. You get everything. Long ball, I haven't really used too much. I don't really recommend it. I remember using it in the demo, like just to see what it's about, and it seemed like my centre mids was always running up top. And I don't want that. I want my CDMs to just sort of come back, give me an option short, and then we'll play out from the back. Fast build up, I see a lot of people use fast build up. I know the Germans especially love to use it from the pro scene I've seen, but I personally don't recommend using it unless you're trying to pull back a lead once again, because you're basically pushing everyone up and it really quick, and if you don't go within that speed, like you could easily get tackled like with one of your defenders, and then they're basically through on an attack straight onto your keeper because you've lost the ball with your defenders because your CDMs ran up front. It's not what you want. But if you use it, like I said, it's all preference at the end of the day. Possession is what it is. Everyone comes short. Nice passing, tight passing, nothing like too long or anything. For me, this is what I prefer to use when I do use the 4-2-3-1. Go with more. When I play 4-2-3-1, I usually go with more of a slow approach in attack. Take my time, try and open them up, try and make them pull out players. Obviously, it's a little bit harder if they don't actually try and defend and just stick on the AI burners, But yeah, I do recommend using possession or balance, really, depending on your play. So if you want to go a little bit quicker than possession, use balanced. But if you want to take your time and attack, use possession. Width is a funny one with 4-2-3-1. I think you can literally use any width with 4-2-3-1, because what you want with 4-2-3-1, a lot of people play for the time finesse, first time finesse, with your ram and lambs, like passing it from the right to the left and first time finesse. So a lot of people do go with the narrow width. For me, I prefer a higher width, like a 5 or a 7, like between 5, 6 or 7 is like what's good for me, mainly because, well, like I said, I'm trying to take my time and attack with this formation. So having like a quite wide team sort of stretches teams out and whatnot, and then I'm trying to hit down the wing, cut inside, do a few skills, and then cut past it into Ronaldo or whatever. Player in the box, I've seen people use 6, I've seen people use 3, and I've seen people use 5. I don't see people doing really anything too crazy with it. Really depends how you play the formation, honestly. If you like to use everyone in attack and you feel like your 4 attackers, your cams and your striker isn't doing it all, have it a little bit higher, so one of your CDMs or both your CDMs come up a little bit higher, give you another option in attack. If you don't want that, obviously go lower, just use your cams and attack. To be honest with you, I have it low because I don't want my CDMs helping in attack. I'm not that bothered. Like, they can come out and give me like another option, but I don't want them to be like running past my central cam, who's a Sabio, and taking up the spots he would get in, especially when their shooting is as good, obviously, as a Sabio. And a lot of CDMs and centre mids shooting is a bit meh, so we don't obviously want that. So that's everything I think covered with 4-2-3-1. Corners and free kicks is all preference. I've got 3-3 if you want to look into that, but that's what I mentioned. That's probably all the things with custom tactics with a 4-2-3-1. You can. It really all comes down to preference, but as I mentioned, the stuff what works for me might work for you. And then we'll go into player instructions. Obviously, the centre backs and stay back, and right back and left back stay back. I just don't see the point of you having them balanced. I think you already have the width of the formation. You don't really need them helping too much. And if you are stuck down the right wing, Vieira is usually there for the cut back pass. I don't even know how you say that. Cut back pass? Yeah, that makes sense. Or Walker, you could even just fire it back to him if worse comes to worse. And Eusebio is obviously also offering you the option in the centre. And then Ronaldo is usually pushing onwards and giving you a run in between the right back and right centre back, or depending on obviously which side you're playing on. So I would always recommend using stay back on the right back and left back. CDMs I use currently stay back and cover centre. With man mark, it's a bit. You know what? I'm going to explain every detail of man mark and cut pass and just balance. Balance gives like I've mentioned, every time with balance it gives you the best of everything. You have a bit of man mark and you have a bit of cut pass, and they have they're varied in what they do. They don't do one or the other. No wait. They do one or the other, right? I don't even know. Words, they don't even make sense to me sometimes. Defensive behaviour. If you have man mark, basically what happens is that they're very central. They don't really try and wander off to the right or the left to try and cut passes. Obviously, that's why it says man mark. But if you have cut passing, they are running around like chickens. To be honest, they are trying to cut each little passing lane off, trying to give you extra support. Sometimes, though, the reason I've gone away from this, because this is what I've used to prefer, sometimes Mangola and Vieira kept bumping into each other because they both was trying to intercept the pass, and obviously I didn't want that. I wanted them both to be very structured in the middle. Cover centre on defensive position. As I mentioned, this is a very well structured formation, so you don't really need them to cover the wing, because you've got people right back and left back, and obviously Aram and Lam, and so on. Cams, I use balanced on all, but there is plenty of different options you can go with. You can go with stay forward on all of them, and I would recommend, if you're going to use this, stay forward, use square a lot in your attack. So if you've got the ball with your right back or left back, press the square ball or X on X spots up to the cams, because you're not going to have that tight passing from the back to attack. You're going to have to be very direct with your play. That's why I go with balance, because I feel they sometimes come short, sometimes they're higher. It gives you literally everything. You can use comeback on defense. If you're going to use comeback on defense, either use fast build up or balanced, because if you use possession, it's going to take you way too long to get up to a frightening attack. So I recommend using balanced or fast build up with comeback on defense. Attacking runs on. We'll go to this. Actually, there is another thing. Free roam on the central cam is very useful as well if you want a little bit different from your cam. So with free roam on the cam, basically gives you an option where they do more. I don't know. It feels like they've got get in behind on them, and they give you a different run, and it allows them to be really creative. So yeah, free roam on him if you want. Also, something I do like to put on is getting the box for crosses on the Ram and Lamb. It's basically what it says on the tin. They just basically try and push up a little bit more. And I've noticed sometimes when I'm running down ram spot, let's say, and I want to get a ball into the lamb, sometimes I see Neymar like run backwards, because sometimes, obviously with balance, sometimes they might just say stay on the edge of the box. But if you have get in the box, they're constantly going to make that start and run to the back post and whatnot. On the striker, we got getting behind. I don't think these options are worth putting on with the striker, because you get the best. You don't really want him to be too static, but you don't obviously want him to be drifting wide too often. You want him to be there and about. Getting behind, I would say, is probably the best option for the striker, because it stretches out their defense, because it makes them have to follow obviously the run. They wouldn't just leave him, because if they do leave him, you've just got an easy through ball and get a goal. You can use stay forward. Stay forward is useful, but I think if you got stay forward on the cams, have stay forward on the striker. I don't think come back on defense is going to be useful for your striker at all. I would say balanced, if anything. But yeah, that would be it with the actual 4-2-3-1. But as I mentioned, there is another variation of the 4-2-3-1, and this is the formation if you want to like be defensive with. I'm not going to go over the custom tactics or anything too extreme. I just wanted to show you the variation of this one. If you want to be more defensive in game, I would recommend using the 4-2-3-1 2. And nor how the players are set up. That's not how it's set up. It's just I haven't used this formation at all this weekend, because I hadn't need to use it. But yeah, if you want to be a bit more defensive, use this formation. But I think that should be it for the 4-2-3-1. If you've enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and